We have such sights to show you.
Hi, everybody. I'm the drunk kitten Tribbles. Welcome to Ultimate Radio Show, right here on YouTube. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Hey, and I hope you all brought some beers.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ultimate Radio Show. I am the High Command, and I'm here as usual with that drunk kitten Tribbles. Yeah, today we're going to take a look at a genre of music that was quite popular in the 50s and 60s, a little bit in the 70s, but now it's completely disappeared from the musical world. I'm talking about the 2-minute and 40-second instrumental.
Hi, everybody. Hey, boss. Yeah, that was a great old song from 1962 called Telstar. It was by the English band The Tornadoes. Us kittens only like tornadoes a little less than hurricanes.
All right, kitten, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, it wasn't uncommon for an instrumental to actually be a number one hit. Now, another guy named Acker Bilk, another British musician, had the number one song of the year for 1962 with actually a clarinet song called Stranger on the Shore. That one and Tornado were both number one hits during that year, and it was the first time that British bands actually had the number one hit in the United States and in the UK.
All right, boss. Yeah, another big source of instrumentals back in the day was what they called the Tijuana sound. Made famous by bands like the Baja Marimba Band and especially Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
All right, kitten, yeah, Herb Alpert, primarily horn-driven instrumentals. He had 2 number one hits and 6 overall hits in the top 10. Really interesting guy. One of the founders of A&M Records. He also married a girl named Lani Hall, who was one of the lead singers in Sergio Mendes in Brazil 66. And they're both still performing to this day.
All right, boss, yeah. It's notable that Herb Alpert had 28 albums that appeared on the U.S. Billboard 200 charts. 5 reached number 1. He's also the only musician to have reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100 as both a vocalist and an instrumentalist.
All right, Kitten, and now moving on to one of the genre that was a prime driver of instrumental music in the 60s, and that would be surf music. A lot of it was driven by bands like The Ventures, Hank Marvin and the Shadows, and others.
All right, yeah, Hank Marvin and the Shadows. Their 1960 instrumental called Apache spent 5 weeks at number one on the UK charts.
All right, Walk, Don't Run, a song by the band The Ventures, came out in 1960, and it actually defined the sound of surf guitar. Now, The Ventures are incredibly successful. They've sold over 100 million records worldwide.
Yeah, boss, they've had 14 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. And they're the best-selling instrumental band of all time. Also in 2008, the group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Santo and Johnny Farina had one of the biggest hit songs in 1959. A little thing called Sleepwalk, instrumental done on the guitar and the steel guitar. Yeah, Sleepwalk actually held the number one position for 2 weeks in 1959. Now, Santos and Johnny Farina, nobody knows, what's up with Santos. I guess he's like a really private person, hasn't been heard from in years. But Johnny Farina still continues to tour, and he keeps the legacy of the band alive.
Many TV and movie themes from back in the 60s actually became big hit songs. Yeah, The Ventures had a huge hit with this theme from Hawaii Five-0.
Right, Kitten? Yeah, back in the day, you'd have a lot of movie soundtracks making hit songs. Percy Faith and his orchestra, Summer Place, Ferrandi and Teicher, the piano guys, Midnight Cowboy theme from Exodus, and many others. But anyway, moving on to one of the biggest hit songs, in the 60s. Nobody, it was just kind of out of left field. A song by the name of Classical Gas. And it was a guitar instrumental by a guy named Mason Williams.
Right, boss. Mason Williams was the lead comedy writer on the Smothers Brothers show, and that allowed him to get the song played on the show. That song also won 3 Grammy Awards.
The song peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it actually made number 1 on the adult contemporary charts. I know back in the day I actually owned the 45. All right, Mason Williams, Classical Gas. As I said at the start, it's kind of a forgotten genre. In fact, in recent times, going back years, the only real songs I can think of that even came close to being instrumental hits were by Eric Johnson, his song Trademark and then Cliffs of Dover. But it's just something that is completely wiped out of the music business today. As far as I can tell. But anyway, that doesn't cover all of them. There's still a ton more, but that's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Just a little blast from the past on some forgotten music. Hey, we'll see you on the next video.